ॐ त्वमेव साक्षात् श्रीगणेश साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माताजी श्री निर्मला देवै नमो नमः। ॐ त्वमेव साक्षात् श्रीगणेश साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माताजी श्री निर्मला देवै नमो नमः। ॐ त्वमेव साक्षात् श्रीगणेश साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माताजी श्री निर्मला देवै नमो नमः। ॐ त्वमेव साक्षात् श्रीगणेश साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माताजी श्री निर्मला देवै नमो नमः।
The Kavach of the Devi. Salutations to Sri Ganesh. Salutations to Sri Saraswati. Salutations to Sri Guru. Salutations to the deity worshipped in the family that is Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi. May there be no obstacles. Amen. Salutations to Sri Narayana. Amen. Salutations to Sri Vishnu. Amen. Salutations to Goddess Saraswati. Salutations to Sage Vyasa. Here begins the main part of the Devi Kavach. The presiding sage of Shri Chandi Kavach is Brahma. The meter is Anushtup. The presiding deity is Chamunda. The main seed is Anganya Sokta Matar. The principal is Digbandha Devata. It is recited as part of the Saptashati, the 700 verses in praise of Sri Durga to please Sri Jagadamba. Amen. Obeisance to Chandika. Thus spoke Markandeya. Amen. O Brahmadeva, please tell me that which is very secret and has not been told to anybody, and which protects all beings in this world in every way. Brahmadeva said, O Brahmin, that which is most secret, auspicious and benevolent to all beings is the Kavach of the Devi. Please listen to that, O great sage. First, Shailaputri, the daughter of the mountain. Om Shri Shailaputri Namaha. Second, Brahmacharini, the one who observes the state of celibacy. Om Shri Brahmacharini Namaha. Third, Chandraghanta, adorned with the moon as her bell. Om Shri Chandraghanta Namaha. Fourth, Kushmanda, the one whose void contains the universe. Om Shri Kushmanda Namaha. Fifth, Skandamata, the mother of Kartikeya. Om Shri Skandamata Namaha. Sixth, Katyayani, the foster daughter of sage Katyayana. Om Shri Katyayani Namaha. Seventh, Kalaratri, the dark night of dissolution. Om Shri Kalaratri Namaha. Eighth, Mahagauri, the Adi Kundalini. Om Shri Mahagauri Namaha. Ninth, Siddhi Datri, the bestower of special divine powers. Om Shri Siddhi Datri Namaha. Durga is known by these 9 names, as told by the great soul Brahmadeva himself. Those who are engulfed by fire, or surrounded by enemies on the battlefield, or being at an impassable place, or frightened, if they surrender to Durga, they would never suffer any misery or misfortune, even at time of war. They would face no calamity, grief, sorrow, or fear. Those who remember you with great devotion indeed have prosperity. Undoubtedly, O Supreme Goddess, you protect those who remember you. The goddess Chamunda sits on the corpse. Varahi rides on a buffalo. Aindri is mounted on an elephant, and Vaishnavi on a condor. Maheshwari is riding on a bull. The vehicle of Kaumari is a peacock. Lakshmi, the beloved of Sri Vishnu, is seated on a lotus and is also holding a lotus in her hand. The goddess Ishwari, of white complexion, is riding on a bull. Brahmi, who is bedecked with all ornaments, is seated on a swan. All the mother goddesses are endowed with yoga and are adorned with different ornaments and jewels. All the goddesses are seen mounted in chariots and are full of anger. They are wielding conch, discus, mace, plough, club, javelin, axe, noose, barbed dart, halter, whip, trident, spear, bow, and arrows. These goddesses are wielding their weapons constantly to destroy the bodies of demons, for the protection of devotees, and for the benevolence of the gods. Salutations to you, O goddess of very dreadful appearance, of frightening valor, of tremendous strength and energy, the destroyer of the worst of fears. O Devi, it is difficult to have even a glance at you. You increase the fears of your enemies. Please protect us. May Goddess Aindri protect us from the east. Agni Devata, goddess of fire, from the southeast. Varahi, the Shakti of Vishnu in the form of the boar, from the south. Gadgadharini, the wielder of the sword, from the southwest. Varuni, the Shakti of Varuna, the rain god, from the west. Mrugavahini, whose vehicle is the deer, protect us from the northwest. May Goddess Kaumari, the eternal virgin, the Shakti of Kartikeya, protect us from the north. And Goddess Shuladharani from the northeast. Brahmani, the Shakti of Brahma, from above. And Vaishnavi, the Shakti of Vishnu, from below, protect us. O Goddess Chamunda, who sits on a corpse, please protect us from all the 10 directions. May Goddess Jaya protect us from the front, and Vijaya from the rear, Ajita from the left, and Aparajita from the right. May Goddess Udyotini protect the top knot, and may Uma cover our head and protect it. May we be protected by Maladhari on the forehead, Yashasvini on the eyebrows, Trinetra on the Hamsa, Yamaganta on the inner part of the nose, Shankini on both the eyes, Dwaravasini on the ears. May Kalika protect our cheeks, and Shankari the roots of the ears. May we be protected by Sugandha on the nose, Charchika the upper lip, Amrutakala the lower lip, Saraswati the tongue, Kaumari the teeth, Chandika the throat, Chitraghanta the sound box, Mahamaya the crown of the head, Kamakshi the chin, Sarvamangala speech, Bhadrakali the neck, Dhanurdhari the spine. May Nilagriva protect the outer part of our throat, and Nalakobari the windpipe. May Khadgini protect our shoulders, and Vajradharini protect our arms. May Devi Dandini protect both our hands, Ambika the fingers, Shuleshwari our nails, and may Kuleshwari protect our belly. May we be protected by Mahadevi, the breast, Shoka Vinashini, the mind, Lalita Devi, the heart, Shuladharini, the stomach, Kamini, the nabhi, Guhyeshwari, the hidden parts, Putana Kamika, the reproductive organs, Mahisha Vahini, the rectum. May Goddess Bhagavati protect our waist, Vindhyavasini the knees, the wish-fulfilling Mahabala protect our thighs. May Narasimhi protect our ankles, may Tejasi protect our feet, Shri Devi protect our toes, may Talavasini protect the soles of our feet, may Donshta Karali protect our nails, Udvakeshini the hair, Kauberi the pores, Vagishwari the skin. May Goddess Parvati protect blood, marrow of the bones, fat and bone. Goddess Kalratri the intestines, Mukuteshwari bile and liver. May Padmavati protect the chakras, Chudamani phlegm or lungs, Jwalamukhi luster of the nails, and Abhedya all the joints. Brahmani semen, Chateshwari the shadow of our body, Dharmadharini ego, superego and intellect, the buddhi, Vajrahasta prana, apana, vyana, udana and samana, the 5 vital breaths, Kalyana Shobhana, prana, the life force. May Yogini protect the sense organs, that is, the faculties of tasting, seeing, smelling, hearing and touching. May Narayani protect Sattva, Raja and Tamo gunas. Varahi, life, Vaishnavi, dharma, Lakshmi, success and fame, Chakrini, wealth and knowledge, Indrani, relatives, Chandika, cattle or sustenance, Mahalakshmi, children, and Bhairavi, spouse. Supata may protect our journey, and Kshemakari, our way. Mahalakshmi may protect us in the king's courts and all official places, and Vijaya everywhere. O Goddess Jayanti, any place that has not been mentioned in the Kavach and has thus remained unprotected, may that be protected by you, the destroyer of sins. One should invariably cover oneself with this Kavach wherever one goes, and should not walk even a step without it, if one desires auspiciousness. Then one is successful everywhere, in all things. All one's desires are surely fulfilled, and that person enjoys great prosperity on the earth. The person who covers himself with kavach becomes fearless, is never defeated in battle, and becomes worthy of being worshipped in the three worlds. This Devi Kavach is inaccessible even to the gods. One who reads with faith every day thrice, morning, afternoon and evening, receives the divine arts, the Shaktis, is undefeated in the three worlds, lives for 100 years, and is free from accidental death. All diseases like boils, scars, etc. are destroyed. Movable, scorpions and snakes, and immovable, all other poisons, cannot affect him. All those who cast magical spells by mantras or yantras on others for evil purposes, all negative forces active in water or in the air, all kinds of bhuts roaming about the earth, all those who mesmerize others, all yakshas and gandharvas, all negative entities, all demons and evil forces are destroyed just by the sight of the person having kavach in his heart. Whoever reads the kavach with devotion, his dignity and prosperity increases. That person receives more and more respect and prowess. On the earth he rises in prosperity and fame by reading the kavach and the Saptashati, and by meditating on Sri Chandi. His progeny would thrive as long as the earth is rich with mountains and forests. By the grace of Mahamaya, he would attain the highest state, which is extremely difficult even for the gods, and is eternally blissful in the company of Lord Shiva. Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Namo Namaha.
You all have talents, you all have understanding, you are all intelligent. All of you are special people, and you have to work out in collective way and also individual way to show your quality of Sri Ganesha. That the rhythm of Sri Ganesha is working, and his understanding of music, which is one of his qualities, is that he dances on the music of which Nataraja, the father, Shiva, has taught. He dances so well, so lightly, he lifts his body, and the way he works it out is amazing. How does he do it with such a short person, with such a thick legs? He is very light. And the lightness comes because of innocence. Oladhar.
Tonight we had decided to talk about creation, but our management has not been able to provide me with a chalk and with a blackboard. So, I don't know. I'll try to explain it without drawing. It's a very difficult subject. And I'll try to make it intelligible. But I would request you to pay full attention for such a difficult subject like creation. One thing is a blessing today that चालून बघू कोणच्या कोणते चालतात ते बघा मग मला त्याला नाभी चक्राची पकड आहे. The greatest blessing today is that many of you can feel the vibrations. And not only that, but you also know and realize that they can think and they can love. It's a very big blessing. Of course, some of you haven't got it, but those who have got it know that these vibrations organize because they raise the Kundalini, they go to the place where it is needed, out of compassion to that portion where there is deficiency. They understand, they organize, they are universal in nature, and they love. They answer to your questions. When you ask them some questions, you receive answer from them. They are living vibrations. These vibrations are from the divine. This divine is called as Brahma, Brahma Tattva, principle of divine. We can say that the process of creation is an eternal process. Means a seed becomes a tree, and the tree becomes a seed, and the seed becomes a tree. It goes on and on. It's eternal. So it cannot have a starting point, and it cannot have an ending point. It goes on and on and on. That's why it can have different states of existence. You can say state of being. So the first, just the being, is Brahma, where nothing exists. We say nothing. When we say nothing, it is a relative word. Because we do not exist, so we say nothing exists. It's a relative word. When we are not existing, for us everything is nothing. There is something, but that is not ourselves. And that's why we say it is nothing. It's only the Brahma. You can say, you can think of an energy if you want to, an energy form that exists. But the energy accumulates at a point and forms a nucleus. The energy that thinks, energy that is distributed, accumulates at a point, concentrates on a point, you can say. And this point is the point we call as Sadashiva. This happens because that energy desires, thinks, organizes, loves. When it wants to create, when the desire is felt in that energy to create, at that time a nucleus is created. This nucleus we call as Sada Shiva. This nucleus does not disappear. You can think of a nebula. I mean, it is something which is all relative, you can think. You cannot think something in absolute form. So with thinking you cannot conceptualize the whole thing. But if you can think of a state where it's just an energy and no creation, but not the energy of electricity, magnetism, all these things. It's the combination, the synthesis of all the things which goes into Laya, which becomes that, dissolves into that. It coagulates, say, on a point. That may be a word. Coagulates at a point which we can call as a nucleus. This point we call as Sadashiva. This Sadashiva is the Ishvara, is the God Almighty. We call it now God because now it has a limitation in the sense that we can call it something. But if it is just an energy, we just call it a Brahma. You can say like this, when the water becomes ice, a follicle of ice is formed. You can differentiate between the water and the ice, but still it's a relative understanding. At this state, God Almighty, Parameshwar, takes its form as an identity. That's why we can say that it is not Brahma, but an identity. Identity has its aura, has its aura. We can say it's light. This light is the divine love. It goes into various forms, but Sadashiva remains as he is. Now the desire to create is transferred to the aura. The aura is the power of God, Shakti. Ishvara has certain things beyond him also and before him. God Almighty has something beyond him that he cannot control. One, he cannot control his eternal nature. It is his nature to be eternal. He cannot stop it. He will go on changing his form. It is his nature. It is his svabhava. He cannot change his eternal nature. He will be eternally. Eternity is his temperament, his nature. He cannot overcome that. For example, God cannot take away your freedom to choose the truth. He cannot. Once he has granted, he is not going to take it away. You have to choose it in all your freedom. He will not force you to take it. Many people have hopes like that. They are sadly mistaken. At this juncture only lies the problem of complete destruction or complete resurrection. It is left into the hands of human beings to decide whether they want to accept the truth or they want to follow the falsehood. So you have given complete freedom to choose. I won't go into the details about God Almighty because it's a very subtler subject and requires much more attention. I have talked about it before to many people and all his nature and all that. But he is the witness, he is the Sakshi in the form of a Sakshi. What is he witnessing? He is witnessing the creation. And the power that creates the creation is the Shakti, is his power, is his consort. Now for us human beings, we don't understand that a wife and a husband could be that one. For example, you can understand like the sun and the sunlight, moon and the moonlight. As these two things are one and the same, or the meaning and the word. In the same way, Shiva and Shakti are one together. For example, you can be a father, you can be a mother. You can be a father, you can be a brother, you can be a son. Three things you are doing together in the same way. You can be yourself and your power. You know you and yourself and your power are different, but you are one. You have a power to write, but you are not your power. Neither your power is yourself. In the same way, Shiva and Shakti are two persons to be identified, but they are part and parcel of one uniform thing known as Brahma. But these horrible tantrikas, again they come round here, have spoiled the relationship between Shiva and Shakti. Not that they were human beings, that's why they established all these funny ideas and talked about these nonsensical things. Because they are the people who are nothing but their sex points. They are nothing nobler than that. They are very depraved and diseased and debased people. They suffer from such a terrible disease that nowhere they can see anything else but this. Ashwamedha Yajna also they describe as something to do with sex. Everything they look, they see sex there. It's like a person, as we call it in Hindi, Sawan ke andhe ko sab haryali nazar aati, who is wearing the glass of sex and watching through that life. Everything becomes sex, sex, sex. They are such debased and horrible, depraved people. Even God, they bring it to that level. Unless and until they bring it to that level, they cannot exist. How will they justify themselves the way they are? Sex has nothing to do with Shiva and Shakti. What is sun and sunlight? Is there any sex involved there? Is there nothing existing without sex for these horrible tantrikas? Is there no relationship that exists without sex? So Shiva is the God Almighty. We should call him as Sadashiva. I'll try to draw a little bit. Let us see how it works out. Forming into a nucleus like this. Now, this is the remains of the nucleus, you can see, which forms its power here into a Valaya. How does it form the Radhavana? He moves, supposing backwards, you can say. Then what happens when he moves backwards? Karana. This whole thing like this remains here And all of this passes, forms a shell around it. And the waves cross over and settle onto the shell. Yeah. Now, this is the situation. When all inside forms another nucleus here by concentration. This is the Shakti. And this is the Sadashakti. This is the Mahashakti, you can say Adi Shakti, and this is the Sadashakti. Now here, Shiva, once the Shakti forms her personality, or we can say her ego is established. She is a different identity from Shiva. Because the whole process is to create the play for the witness to see. He is the one who is going to watch the play. She is the one who is going to create. So she accumulates her ego onto a point here and becomes Shakti, assumes a position there, and the first thing she does as a Shakti is to go around in a parabole, around her Lord. This point one must understand. She is a Shakti, is the power of God. And the whole creation is only meant for God Almighty to see. He is the only spectator of the play of Shakti. And if he doesn't like the play, for example, he doesn't like the way it is or the way people are that are created, he can immediately stop the play by closing his eyes, by denying the play, by showing his annoyance, or by his temper. He can just stop it. That's why he is also called as a destroyer. But the whole thing is meant for his amusement. And if it doesn't give him pleasure, he can stop it. That's why the first one who must be pleased is the one who is the spectator. Because of this, Shiva is garlanded by her, is a parabole. And that's why parabole is a symbol of Adi Shakti. This is sort of a certificate to her, a sort of a granting her the Varadan, as we call it in Sanskrit language, is the Varadan, that go ahead with your work. This is a sanction given to him. When she completes this parabole, the sanction has been granted, and that's why she is a parabole. Here the question of men dominating the women and women dominating the men does not come in, because this is predominantly in our heads, you see. When we think of it, we think of men and women. It is nothing of the kind. It's a complete oneness. Can we think of one couple which is absolutely united with each other? We can. Because we are all incomplete people. But if you could stretch your imagination to such a point that both of them are meant for each other only. And the one who is active is Adi Shakti, is only active to please the God Almighty, who is the only spectator of her play. And he is to be pleased first. So she surrenders herself before him, takes his sanction through the parabole. Now, parabole is a very important thing. You know that everything travels through parabole, never in a straight line. For example, if you love someone, our love goes round that person and comes back to
May I this day be what you'd have me be. May I this day say what you'd have me say. May I this day be part and parcel of the whole, and may my thoughts be of a realized soul. May I this day have love for all mankind. Holy Mother, be in my heart and in my mind. May I this year grow as you'd have me grow. May I this year learn what you'd have me know. May we this year stand tall and carry forth your light, and may we keep your vision ever in our sight. May we this year at your lotus feet unite. Holy Mother, be in our heart and in our mind. May we this life live as you'd have us live. May we this life love as you'd have us love. May this world become the lotus that unfolds into this golden age of realized souls. May we this life fulfill our destiny. Holy Mother, be in our heart and in our mind. Holy Mother, be in our heart and in our mind.
Moksha Pradayini Mata
God bless you. May God bless you all. May God bless you all. May God bless you all.
This is set to tune in Rag Des, one of the favorite ragas of Mataji.
बजरंग में माँ जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ बजरंग में भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ बजरंग में भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में अंग में, जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, बजरंग में भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ, मेरे अंग अंग में। भर दे इतनी प्रीति माँ, जितना पानी सागर में। भर दे इतनी प्रीति माँ, जितना पानी सागर में। भर दे इतनी प्रीति माँ, जितना पानी सागर में। कमी नहीं होगी कभी, कमी नहीं होगी कभी, तनिक तेरे प्यार के आगर में, प्यार के आगर में। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ, मेरे अंग अंग में। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ, मेरे अंग अंग में। जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, बजरंग में, बजरंग में। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ, दूसरी पंक्ति बाबा ने बहुत अच्छी लिखी है। भीख तू इतनी दे दे माँ, मेरी मैली चादर में। वेरी नाइस। भीख तू इतनी दे दे माँ, मेरी मैली चादर में। इतनी दे दे माँ, मेरी मैली चादर में। भीख तू इतनी दे दे माँ, मेरी मैली चादर में। दर्पण हर पल, दर्पण हर पल, देखूं तेरे सत्संग में, सत्संग में। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ, मेरे अंग अंग में। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ, मेरे अंग अंग में। जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, बजरंग में, बजरंग में। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ, मेरे अंग अंग में। जय झूलेलाल। भर दे हर एक बाग में माँ, भर दे हर एक बाग में माँ, प्यार के फूल कलियों से। भर दे हर एक बाग में माँ, प्यार के फूल कलियों से। महक तेरी ही आएगी तब, महक तेरी ही आएगी तब, महक तेरी ही आएगी तब, सड़क से गलियों गलियों से। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में, भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में। जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, बजरंग में, बजरंग में। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में। लगन से ऐसी माता जी, लगन से ऐसी, लगन से ऐसी माता जी, जैसे राधा को शाम से। लगन तो ऐसी माता जी, जैसे राधा को शाम से। श्रद्धा दे ऐसी माता जी, जैसे शबरी को राम से, शबरी को राम से। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में, भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में। जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, जैसे राम के बजरंग में माँ, बजरंग में, बजरंग में। भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में, भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में, भर दे इतनी भक्ति माँ मेरे अंग अंग में। जय माता जी, जय माता जी, जय माता जी, जय माता, जय माता जी, जय माता जी, जय माता, जय माता जी, जय माता, जय माता जी, जय माता, जय माता Jai